What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Alchemix. As always, I'm Tommy Paul. And today we're going to be looking at 5 Prohibition-Era cocktails. Now, we all know that when you suppress something, it comes back with a vengeance. So these are 5 cocktails that rose out of the ashes of Prohibition like a phoenix. And due to its popularity and accessibility during Prohibition, gin was one of the most, if not the most, drank spirits during this dark time in American history. So that being said, all 5 of these cocktails are going to have gin as a base. So the spirit of the day, and the one that we're going to be using in all of our cocktails, is Plymouth Gin. It's an old style gin and probably one of the closest to the style that was smuggled throughout the US during Prohibition. So without further ado, here's 5 Prohibition-Era cocktails. Alright, we are going to start off with a cocktail called a Southside. Now, this cocktail was named after the Southside of Chicago, and this was an area that was under Al Capone's control during Prohibition, and he was allegedly smuggling some pretty harsh gins around that area. So the ingredients used are meant to mask the taste of bathtub gin. It's a shake and drink, so I'll start out with a tin. First thing I'm going to do is throw about 7 mint leaves right into my tin. You're also going to need 3/4 of an ounce of simple syrup. For us, that's 1:1 hot water and sugar. I'm going to use a full ounce of fresh squeezed lemon juice and 2 ounces of gin. That's it. We're gonna ice our tin and give that a shake. Now that that's perfectly chilled and diluted, I'm gonna double strain into a chilled cocktail glass. Make sure you fine strain, get all those bits of mint out. Last up, garnish with a mint leaf. That is the Southside. Alright, next up we have what a lot of people know as one of my personal favorite cocktails. It's called the Bee's Knees. The actual phrase obviously was a Prohibition-Era term to mean the height of excellence, or the best, let's say. It's a simple 2-part spirit, 1 part sweet to 1 part citrus cocktail. First thing I'm going to do is pour 1 ounce of honey syrup. Match that with 1 ounce of fresh squeezed lemon juice. Now, during Prohibition, America was one of the biggest producers in the world of lemons and honey, so it was very accessible during this time period, and it was another recipe designed to cover up the taste of bathtub gin. But like a lot of Prohibition-Era cocktails, once you use good spirits in them, they become amazing drinks. Now that's it. All we do is ice our tin and give it a good shake. Sounds perfectly chilled and diluted. We are going to double strain into our chilled cocktail glass. I absolutely love the viscosity of this cocktail. The honey syrup gives it such a nice mouthfeel. All there is left to do is spritz this with a lemon twist. And that is the bee's knees. All right, next up we have the Monkey Gland. Now, this cocktail was invented by Harry McElhoney at his own bar, Harry's New York Bar in Paris. Harry was the author of the famous cocktail book Barflies and Cocktails. He was regarded as a bit of a marketing genius, most notably for marketing to American tourists that came to Europe during Prohibition to get a taste. Now, I'm going to start out with just a bar spoon of grenadine. Match that with a bar spoon of simple syrup. And most recipes also call for a bar spoon of absinthe. I'm using a Japanese dasher bottle, so I'm going to do about 5 dashes, which is about a half a bar spoon, and I'll explain why in just a second. Now you're going to need 1.5 ounces of fresh squeezed orange juice. Match that with 1.5 ounces of our gin. And that is it. We are just gonna ice our tin and give that a shake. Sounds perfect. Chilled and diluted. We're gonna fine strain this into our chilled cocktail glass. Now, just to get to it, the reason why I used a bit less absinthe before is because I'm going to finish off with a spritz of absinthe so I can coat the top layer with that absinthe flavor, so that's the first thing that you get on the nose and on the palate. Last but not least, garnish this with a spritz of orange. Now, somewhat unrelatedly, Harry McElhoney named this cocktail after some pretty shady medical practices going on by a French surgeon, which I shouldn't mention, but feel free to look up on your own time. And that is the Monkey Gland. All right, next up we have a Corpse Reviver number 2. This cocktail was originally published in Harry Craddock's 1930 book, the Savoy Cocktail Book. Now, Harry Craddock was a man who claimed to have shaken the very last drink before Prohibition started in the States, and then jumped ship to the UK the very next day and ended up at the Savoy American Bar in London. And this cocktail is named for its ability to revive a corpse. It's one of those old hair of the dog tricks for a hangover. So we're going to start out with 4 equal parts. First, fresh lemon juice. Second, Lillet Blanc. In certain areas where this is not very accessible, you just need some sort of fortified white wine. Next up, another 3/4 ounce of Cointreau liqueur. It's an orange liqueur. And gin. And this cocktail requires absinthe. I've seen it many different ways. Most recipes call for about a bar spoon. What I'm going to do is do about half that out of Japanese dasher, which is about 5 dashes, and then spritz it at the end. That's it for now. I'm just gonna ice my tin and give that a shake. Next up, double strain this into a chilled coupette. And as I mentioned before, we're going to spritz this with absinthe out of a perfume sprayer. And finally, zest of a lemon. And that is it. That is a Corpse Reviver number 2. All right, next up we have a White Lady. Now, there's a bit of controversy as to how, when, and where this cocktail was invented. What we do know is that both Harry McElhoney at Harry's New York Bar in Paris and Harry Craddock at the Savoy in London both published this in their cocktail books during Prohibition. What we do know is that Harry McElhoney's recipe originally called for creme de menthe as the base, and that was likely switched by Harry Craddock to gin in London. So this drink calls for an egg white. So the first thing I'm going to do is add that to my tin. Next up, equal parts Cointreau, three-quarters of an ounce matched with 3/4 of an ounce of fresh squeezed lemon juice, 1.5 ounces of our gin. First things first, we give it a dry shake to emulsify the egg. Then add ice and shake it again. Sounds perfectly chilled and diluted. Now all we have to do is double strain into our chilled coupette. You're left with that awesome, nice, frothy texture from the egg white. Lastly, garnish with a twist of lemon, and that is the White Lady. All right, everybody, thanks so much for watching how to make 5 Prohibition-Era cocktails. You can click right up here to subscribe, and we're coming out with content weekly, so if you don't want to miss out, hit that notification bell. As always, I'm Tommy Paul from Alchemix. Cheers.